Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. My name is Niels Tudor Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent, non-commercial podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Public waste handling organizations stand at the frontline of the transition to circular economy and a true sustainable society. And the EU stands ready with lots of funding to boost and facilitate this dramatic shift. And getting involved in EU R&D proposals and projects as a local municipal organization can be a great way to fund these strategies, since they are often costly and with a big element of risk. But how do you attack this big animal as a public entity with limited resources for both developing proposals yourself and paying private consultants to write the proposals for you? The answer is that many don't. However, a segment of public waste handling organizations have cracked the code to get going with this. BOFA, waste handling organization of Bornholm, Denmark, is among them. I invited project manager David Christensen from BOFA into the virtual podcast studio for a talk about how they're working with EU funding, strategically and practically. As often happens in this podcast, it became a long talk, so I have divided it into 2 episodes. You start to know the drill. Here in the first half, we cover how they got going with EU funding and how their EU funding strategy has developed over the last years. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. As you all know, at least the regulars, I am continuing my timeline series from basic project idea to submission. That's a long process because there are many steps. So that's that. That's very concrete and supposed to be a tool for all of you that do proposals on a regular basis, or at least a generic tool to go in and find whatever you need when you're in the proposal process. At least inspiration, if not anything else. And in between this, I have started to fill in with guest episodes with different aspects of EU funding area to get some content into my platform from different corners of the EU funding world. And today I have a guest. It's not a timeline series today. It's a guest episode, and it's for surely going to be a wonderful one because I have a great guy on board here today. And it's not nice to talk about people in third person when they are in the room, even if it's a virtual one. So, David, welcome.
Thank you very much, Niels. I'm glad to be here. And it's a filler episode, but I hope it's going to be a fun one.
Oh, it's not a filler.
No.
It's not a filler. So just to enlighten you also on the sort of state of the ambition and the stages of what I do here. So the ambition is to make content that suits everybody in the whole EU funding community, from funding scheme administrators to proposal writers, to research people, to public organizations, to industry, and so on and so forth. So, and it with all kinds of aspects and layers that anyone would find, there's something interesting for me. And so this, and this episode is about public organizations and EU funding. And I actually I've made some labels, I've made some pillars in my universe, but I haven't made a pillar with concrete, with industry and concrete projects and so on. So that's I will need to think a little bit because I need a place, I need a space in my universe with where industry explain what they do and so on and so forth, where concrete projects will be dug into and so on. But we'll see. The most important thing is that you have in in this ecosystem? You, of course, I've been talking to consultants, I've been talking to some researchers, but you also have a lot of public organizations that work with these things. That's you. Mm-hmm. But I've already been talking way too much compared to what I normally do when I start up, because it's, of course, David, please tell me and the listeners, where do you come from?
Sure.
Who you are.
Sorry, Nils, I didn't want to interrupt you or anything.
Sure.
Oh, okay, is that the rules of the game? No, I'm David Christensen, and I'm a project manager at BOFA, which is the waste management authority and service provider under the regional municipality of Bornholm, which is a Danish island in the Baltic Sea, and a municipal division in the Danish municipal system. So yeah, I'm a civil servant, and yeah, I do project development work as part of my day-to-day doings, and I represent a public authority in that respect. I would say maybe we are the one division in the municipality at the moment that is very active and very aggressive in trying to seek European funding for development projects with a particular reason. I can get into that later. But for now, I'll just say that we're administrative unit in the municipality with high ambitions for reaching very, very difficult to obtain strategic targets. And so they've set into motion a lot of research and innovation activities. They've given us a clear mandate to work in my unit, and me particularly as well. And that's given us the leeway to really, as I said, be aggressive in trying to hunt down EU funding.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. Just about so when it comes to, I always ask my guests to say a few words about the EU R&D proposal and project experience. So where do you lie on? Do you write proposals, or do you implement, or do you where's your experience?
Well, I've been in this organization for over 3.5 years now, and I was a bit green coming in, but with these couple of years under my belt, I can say that I've become somewhat of a veteran in the organization, at least in getting proposals sent in and getting a couple of them accepted even in the other end. What do I do in particular with respect to sort of this, if you could consider the stage gate process of this proposal writing thing? I'm involved in all aspects, from conceptualization, consortium forming, talking with consortium partners, writing, delivering what's needed for a proposal to get on its feet, together with collaboration partners. We can also get into that later. And after submission, I'm also the post-award team. So once we get that, we get the grant up and ready. How do we man the projects? And funnily enough, we're at a stage right now where we have a lot of projects under our portfolio. I'm not necessarily helming them all, or very many of them at least. I will be getting some, but the projects themselves have enabled resources to get into the organization so that we can keep and attract employees, my colleagues, and so we've been able to assign projects to my colleagues, and I can go back to seeking more projects, so we get more, and so we have a nice, big and growing family here at BOFA.
You came out of Aalborg University, right?
Correct. I came in here because of a vacancy that suddenly arose back in 2019, because my predecessor decided to retire all of a sudden, and that left the organization with a minor system shock in respect to what do we do now? We have some EU projects and we need to man them. And my organization had a somewhat of a strategic collaboration with Aalborg University. And my predecessor at BOFA had some links with Aalborg University prior to being a BOFA employee. And so when his position became vacant, they first of all sought out Aalborg University and to figure out, hey, do you have anybody on roster that could maybe take this position, because the project needs to be run. And I was in the periphery. I mean, we knew of each other, me and my predecessor. We knew what we did, and at the time, the timing was perfect because I had just finished my PhD. I had just defended it after many years, and I was a part-time lecturer at the university as part of a research group called SIP, Sustainability, Innovation and Policy, at the Department of Planning. And I was also a lecturer at something called CPH Business, which was in Danish, an erhvervsakademi, which is a business academy which teaches AP degree programs. So I was there sort of waiting, I had just finished my PhD. I was going to try something new. This thing came up, and Bornholm is an exciting location. I couldn't say no. It took us, me and my better half, all of 0.5 seconds to make the decision when we were called up in the car one day. So we went house hunting the same weekend. That's how it ended up.
Yeah, and just for people not knowledgeable of Danish geography, so you have Aalborg University is in North Denmark, which is naturally north part of the country on the mainland Denmark that's connected with Germany, and Bornholm is at the absolute opposite direction. It's an island just in between southern Sweden and Poland.
However, Aalborg University also has a campus in Copenhagen, where I was attached. So the distance wasn't that far.
Okay. So you were living in Copenhagen. All this speech for nothing. Yeah, okay. But it's still a change to move from the capital Copenhagen to the island of Bornholm.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a life-changing decision, of course, to relocate to an island.
From urban to rural.
Yeah. Well, I've had an upbringing, and I've grown up in big cities, and we've lived in big cities. What we haven't done is live in a tourist island. So that was a value proposition in itself. We were ready to move. We had at the home front, we had a young kid that was growing up, and we thought, Bornholm's a nice place to have kids grow up because of the nature and the seaside at your doorstep, basically.
Mm-hmm. It becomes a little chatty. That's nice, but my episodes has a tendency to become very long. So we gotta get moving on. But what I wanted to ask you, did you write EU proposals when you were at the university?
Only in very limited fashion. As part of a research group, as part of a junior staff member layer, you have the tools. You're equipped with it, and you sometimes you latch onto professors and associate professors' research writing grant processes.
Okay.
No, I did that to a limited extent, but a lot of this was learning by burning or learning by doing when I got into it. However, it felt comfortable. Right? Sometimes you have an aptitude for these kind of things, and I suppose that's what happened. That kind of thing came activated.
All right, let's. So what I always tell people. You already said a few words about BOFA, but what I always tell people, everybody gets the chance to shameless self-promotion of the organization they work for, because this is an independent, non-commercial initiative, and I ask people for their spare time or work time to do these interviews. So, can you give us a short presentation of the organization, a little bit more few words than you already said?
Yeah, so BOFA is the waste management sort of unit at the municipality, and what that means is we run all sorts of waste treatment infrastructure. We have a waste incineration plant, we have a landfill site, we have hazardous waste transfer facilities, we have recycling centers for citizens and small businesses to use. We have this kind of infrastructure, and we're also an authority, which means we prepare and execute waste management plans, and we do the regulatives that the private households need to comply with, and the businesses would need to comply with. What makes Bornholm and BOFA a bit unique in some respects when it comes to this is that, as opposed to what you see in many parts of the country elsewhere, BOFA is not separate from the municipality. We're embedded as part of it. When you go to other parts of Denmark, you'll usually find companies like us as publicly owned utility companies. But because we're an island, we have some exemptions to some of the rules that enable us to simply be part of the municipality. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. but more importantly for EU project funding proposals and all that whole game is we have a municipally adopted vision of achieving zero waste. And that sounds big, and it's a huge deal. It's something that was presented to our local municipal council back in 2018. We knew that we have a waste incineration plant that needed to have a sort of an afterlife plan. It's set to be decommissioned. It's set to be paid off in the year 2032. And the idea was to try to propose to the politicians who were in power at the time, hey, instead of the unrealistic scenario of establishing a new waste incineration plant for Bornholm by that time, let's adopt a very forward-thinking vision of saying that all waste is to be avoided, reused, recycled, instead of what we do with it currently is a lot of it gets incinerated and landfilled. Why don't we follow the actual waste hierarchy and try to eliminate incineration and landfilling as treatment options for all Bornholm originating waste? And that achieved unanimous backing from the municipal council back in 2018. And that, I have to say, is quite unique and quite important for what makes Bornholm attractive from a consortium point of view, because they always ask, whether it's a consultancy company or a project coordinator, a research development organization, a university, do you have political backing for what you want to do with your targets? And when we're the first thing, when we can get back to that kind of entity and say, yes, we do, and by the way, it's this ambitious, then that opens a whole lot of doors. And then we can lead in, and then we can enter with another argument to say, like, Bornholm has a certain size. We're 40,000 people on this island. Where it's an island of 588 square kilometers. It has an airport, police station, hospital. It has a fully fledged manufacturing sector, agricultural sector, service sector. It's a mini Cosmos or a mini Denmark in many cases. So solutions can be tried out here and scaled again. So the proposition we go to the world with is use Bornholm as a test site. And we see this in other areas of society, that this is actually taken seriously, and this is something that they do use Bornholm for. An example is the Danish government drive to achieve climate neutrality, or to do to achieve very ambitious targets on the climate front. That has nothing to do with waste in general, but that means that the Danish government has assigned a so-called energy island to be established outside Bornholm, which is a couple of massive offshore 3 gigawatt class wind farms. And why Bornholm? Well, because it has a nice location in order to be able to supply Germany with excess capacity, produce electricity, as well as the rest of Denmark through undersea transmission lines. And it also has it's a good location for landing a transformer station on Bornholm. So this is a multi-million euro investment to establish an offshore wind park of this size. And this is a government decision. And the fact that Bornholm has been able to attract that and show to the world that big things can happen under the Bornholm, that's an exemplification of what I just said before, of Bornholm being a test site and a demonstration site for big things.
Yeah, and that's what you quite quick to pick that up when getting in contact with you, because maybe we should disclaim a little bit the relationship you and me have. So we've been working together in several EU proposals. We didn't get funded for any of them, but however, we've been working close together on those.
Each and every process was fun.
Thanks. Not for me, but it was always nice to work with you. No, I had wonderful collaboration partners. You were indeed one of the best ones.
Oh, thanks.
That I like to work most together with. So yeah, you're lovely people, but the processes were horrible in my end.
Oh no.
But let's not dig too much into that. Let's focus on the on the positive things. So
sure.
we've been over a year or something like this. We've been in contact and working together, and exactly this, because I was building up proposals from scratch with ideas and so on sustainability, and you were involved because you had you fitted into a piece of the value chain of the proposal. The wonderful thing was exactly this, that there was there was a holistic place. If when you were aboard, that it would suddenly be possible to tick many boxes of sustainability chain, so to say, of the full circle of circular economy, so to say. It's also because you have many collaboration partners, nice partners that would, there was always an added value in this respect if I had been in touch with another waste handling company from another company in the network I had. So that's exactly what you just said. Thanks. So we sort of you actually started bridging into the next bullets in our rundown here, moving into the real subject. So today we are going to talk about you as a waste handling organization, as a public organization, and how you are using EU funds to fulfill your strategy of the zero waste strategy in 32. So a concrete, tangible example of how you can use EU funds in a strategy that you have made as an organization, and in this case public, because there's some specific elements related to being a public organization. But you have some targets within the green transition that you need to fulfill, and you're using EU funds for that. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, you already shared with us a little bit about BOFA and the role you play, and the setup of the island, so to say, the sort of mini bubble, so to say, of where you have all elements of society there. So BOFA as a renovation and recycling company, because you're a public company. Would you say that?
It's on our letterhead. We're a public company, or a company under the regional municipality of Bornholm. Although, I mean, in terms of PIC numbers or any kind of official legal entity registration, we're simply the municipality. But we operate as a company. You could say that because when you look at the municipal budget, we're protected. We have our own universe within that because we're solely run. We operate based solely on waste fees that we get from businesses that make use of our services and households that pay the waste fees. And that means we don't live off tax, we live on fees. And so we're, in that sense, we're a bit different from anywhere else in the municipality. But in that sense, we're a company. We have our own accounting system in that respect.
So I put down here, but I don't know if it's relevant, but I put down here, so the sector areas that you are covering. So that's, but that's all waste.
It is, but
the sectors that you have waste from. But do you have some core areas where, say, these are the most important, so to say, that we are dealing with, building or house waste or?
Yeah, well, I've seen it as my mission to have a look at our waste streams and have a look at the waste streams that we want to do something else about, rather than letting them go into incineration or landfilling pathways. So then you take a look at those streams and say, okay, what are they, and what are the sources, what are the downstream treatment? The treatment is given at incineration or landfilling. But what are they? And that oftentimes points at streams like plastic packaging, construction demolition waste, bulky waste, which is people's furniture that they throw out. It could also be the bio circle. When you're looking at the circular economy, all sorts of, it could be food waste or that kind of thing that also is currently incinerated. Yeah, well, when you take a look at these waste streams that we want to do something different about, and we match them up against the Horizon work programs, for example, then you'll find matches, and you'll find call topics, and oftentimes they're clustered around topic areas. So thinking backwards along those lines, then you say, okay, well, I can see that a lot of what we can do with these streams match up with a topic cluster called CircBio, circular economy and bioeconomy. And that's where the Horizon Work Program people have put up under one of their clusters a range of topic descriptions dealing with this in one way or the other. Another, yeah, but that's funny. So that's what we do. We try to do it strategically by identifying, based on what we want to do something with, what kind of calls are out there that are most suitable for these waste streams. However, as anybody knows in this game, a lot of it sometimes happens unplanned. Like you could be working very strategically, very goal-oriented towards working on some topic areas, and you don't get the funding. So you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So you have to sort of also do a very agile, flexible approach and take what otherwise also comes in. And once you start building up a network of partners and you get a lot of callbacks, then you get proposals for all sorts of weird calls. So one of the projects that has landed on our portfolio has to do with traditional crafts, craft making, artists, glass blowers, ceramic makers. What has this got to do with waste and circular economy? Well, when you think about it, it has a lot to do with it, and it has a lot of potential actually, but it wasn't part of a strategic foresight screening, or whatever you call it, of all the different topic programs. It came to us because somebody else out there had thought maybe there could be an idea to join forces on this topic. And if you want to get the funding from a public sector organization position, I would say to my colleagues out there, don't be so myopic. Don't have these blinders on and think only I want to do this and this is what we need to do and this is, and therefore I can only participate in a project in this manner with this call, doing this and this. You have to remain open.
I think I just had an interview with a professor emeritus from Vito from Belgium on their how they built up Vito from the 80s onwards with EU funds, and he said, well, we have what we definitely need to do, where we are cool to coordinate or really really top notch. This is we really need to do. Then we have in the middle things where we say, okay, if we have the resources and so on, if we get him, then this is also interesting for us. And then there are all the things where you get invited, where you can say, okay, we don't take a leading role or we're just an ordinary partner, but it's actually something that could be nice. So sort of three categories of priorities, so to say.
I'd say out of those priorities,
I know you have them.
It's similar, I guess, to how you could systematize it from our point of view, except that the first category is not on the table, has not been on the table so far. We are not in a position as an organization that is relatively new in EU grant funding seeking to coordinate. So we're never in the running as a coordinator until recently. Now we're actually building up a CV, and maybe we can start playing an interesting role as coordinating for some programs, at least some calls. But we haven't had that, so we've mostly entered into the fray as demonstrator sites, replicator sites. In some nice cases, we've been offered work package lead. This is amongst one of them, if I remember correctly, one of the processes where I worked with you, Niels, on one of the proposals, because it made sense simply from our part of the value chain to take that value chain focused role in the consortium, in the project.
Yeah. So for the dear listeners, we've been already geeking a little bit on the focus of David, BOFA, and the waste handling. But if you zoom a little bit out, you are at the heart of circular economy. You are in that place where things come in when it's used, and where you are involving yourself in things to process it so it can be used as a waste stream. That can be recycled. But we'll get back to that very shortly, because that's what this is all about from your point of view as a waste handling company.
A quick note that recycling is still one of the worst options. If you can do even something better, even reuse systems or avoidance, that would be cool. Well, that's actually more preferable. Recycling is an option of last resort. But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. No, I put here but I think that you have actually covered it. Was your strategy in relation to the green transition, sustainability, not just the EU funding part, but you actually folded it out a little bit. But can you put a little bit more words on that?
Well, yeah.
So you have the strategy. That's the core target for you. That's 32.
Yes, absolutely. Our KPI is zero waste, measured in terms of zero waste going to incineration, zero waste going to landfilling by 2032. That's a very clear, measurable target. And by the way, also legally entrenched in a municipal waste plan that we have recently adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I should mention that the 2032 vision is also part of something broader on Bornholm. Bornholm has had a bright green island vision, it's called, a sustainability strategy enforced and in play since 2008, I think. It's a very old initiative that has taken many iterations, has developed a lot during the years, and they have the bright green island means to say, well, that means green, but also bright in terms of bright minds. They try to the idea is to make Bornholm an island that not only is green but also can attract know-how and high knowledgeable minds to the island, and that has a number of different strategy areas that Bright Green Island Vision. There's a food strategy, there's a mobility strategy, there's an energy strategy as part of that, and our vision actually is part of that. So there's a bigger, broader thing out there. Just to put that out there. And we recognize our role. We're very focused on our role, but we also understand that it's part of something bigger and organized in the municipal setting, and that's important.
Yeah. So my best guess is that BOFA as an organization, you have a strategy and you have concrete activities that you carry out as a public company, waste handling company, and then the funding part, it supports it, where you see this is too expensive for us to carry out. It's much more valuable for us to do this with partners to develop new ways of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, we're not one of the richest municipalities in Denmark. We're actually one of those that are on the outermost peripheries in terms of socioeconomic background, in terms of budget, per capita, that kind of thing. We're poor. It even shows in some of our infrastructure. Some of our recycling centers don't even have asphalt. It's just gravel, and that gets muddy. And so there's a funny discrepancy between our high ambition levels and what you see on the ground in terms of stretched resources, recycling centers and other areas of our infrastructure that are undermanned, that kind of thing. So we need to think innovatively. There's a concept out there called frugal innovation. How do you innovate under constraint? And I guess that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to find a way to navigate, try to reach a high ambition level, provided that we can't just expect money to be released to carry that objective. We need to get help elsewhere, and help in terms of funding, in terms of knowledge and partner resources. That's absolutely where EU funding plays a very strong role. In fact, I mentioned just before that we had just adopted a municipal waste plan for the many years ahead. And one of the cornerstones of that plan, it actually says there that EU funding and EU projects is one of the modalities for Bornholm to reach its target.
Okay, then let's just hit it. Let's get on with it, because now we've been circling around it for a while. So let's get into the subject of the EU funding.
Mm-hmm.
So I've dotted down maybe too many bullets here.
Maybe I should mention before we get to the EU funding.
Yeah,
we do have something called Zero Waste Bornholm. That's also mentioned in our municipal waste plan as a modality that we work with in order to reach a 2032 target. And what is Zero Waste Bornholm? Zero Waste Bornholm is our innovation platform. That is something that is run and operated under me. I run it, I head it, and is our setup for inviting partners where we don't have external funding. That's where we invite multinationals and other partners to work with us on our own demonstration projects. And if external funding comes in later in the value chain or in that process, that's fine. But we also have our own internal setup for this kind of thing. It's a multiple helix innovation platform setup. And that's separate from EU projects, but they can converge.
So I'm going to put this up on my website, and I have a site on my website where I put all these kind of links and and resources and so on. So I will put it there, so you will be able to find it there.
Cool.
So people can click in and see if it makes sense. So let's just start from the bottom, so to say, from the top. So EU funding. How long have BOFA been working with EU funding? Is it as soon as you arrived, or does it go way back, or is there any sort? Do you know the history of it?
I do know the very specific history before I arrived. There was a grand total of 3 EU projects historically in BOFA's portfolio. But when I arrived, 2 of them were Interreg UX, which is to say that the Interreg EU co-funding source that serves the Danish-Swedish connection or the Danish-Swedish catchment area.
Yep.
One of the projects had to do with reuse containers at our recycling centers, and another project had to do with innovative public procurement practices. So these were 2 projects that were run by my predecessor and my now colleagues back in the day. And then we had the project that I took the helm of when I came, which was an Interreg South Baltic project. And this is another catchment area under the Interreg funding source that serves Sweden, Denmark, Poland, Lithuania, certain coastal municipalities in that area. And that was our EU project portfolio: 2 Interreg UX and 1 Interreg South Baltic. That's it. Not much. And if you look historically also at Bornholm, the regional municipality of Bornholm, how many projects had they taken part in under the Horizon 2020 program out of the whole sort of history of that? 2. One called Contracts 2.0, one called Insule. None of them had to do with BOFA, but it was a very, when you sort of look at it, it was kind of meager. It's not the biggest portfolio, you could say, but that's changed.
Okay. Enter David. So you started. Mm-hmm. Now I know that you're a vibrant person, and you sort of already now given us an idea. But can you tell me what you did when you arrived?
I think I smelled blood in the water the first time when I hunted down a first call that was presented to us. In this sense, I have to give credit to the Greater Copenhagen EU office, which is a membership-based organization that has members all over the Sjælland and the Copenhagen area, which includes us, and also southern Sweden. They have their eyes and ears in Brussels and out there trying to support consortium building. But they came to us one day and said, "Hey, David, or BOFA, there's a potential grouping of project coordinators for this particular call on circular bioeconomy. And they want to find a Danish partner. And they want to set up an online meeting. And you have to know, by the way, that if you want to go for this will be a very competitive call, because you will have municipalities all across Denmark trying to sort of propose their own municipalities or geographies as demonstrator sites for this consortium." So I said, okay, I'll do what I can. It turned out that it was a very convincing proposal when it came to my presentation, and they immediately afterward they wanted Bornholm. Okay. So that's what I said when I say, or that's what I meant when I said I smelled blood in the water. I mean, there was something there, not necessarily due to how I work with EU projects, but based on the institutional setup that I came into, that naturally lent Bornholm offered it as a natural partner in an EU consortium. Yeah. So that was the first one, and then it started snowballing from there.
Okay, so you kind of thrown into that. You got a request from the Brussels office. Was it funded?
We were on the reserve list. It did not. It's not funding, but
that's the worst.
That's the worst thing. Yes, but that again, it also gave. You smell blood in the water. In Danish, you say "blod på tanden," because you're so close. How we prior to coming into Horizon 2020 developed, it was Horizon 2020 at the time.
Yeah.
You get that. You've been told these stories. There's a 10% hit rate. It's so competitive. You can't get these. And then you come in here and you work with partners you've never met before, and they have not worked with each other before, as it turns out. And you come into a proposal and you get second best place ahead of a proposal that consists of heavy hitters. And they want it, and they rightly so, they want it. But if we came from nothing to almost get the project, there's something in here, guys. We should keep on doing this. We're close.
Yeah. So that happened. Got on a reserve list. David, he sits in front of his computer. He starts to get an idea of the organization, of BOFA waste handling, 32 strategy, zero waste. So do you start to put together a strategy? Do you pull the leading managers, pulling them to try to see, look, there's something here? What happens at this stage?
Luckily, I'm in an organization where very quickly it was recognized that what I can do needed to be given the freedom to work. So I have to give credit to management, not only to the strategic vision setup of what BOFA operates under, but also to the way that we work as an organization and the people involved with it. When you have a resource like myself, and you recognize that resource needs free reins, and you give them free reins, then magic can happen. I honestly say so. So that was quickly recognized early on. So whenever a potential EU project sort of lead came into BOFA's universe, it was assigned to me. It quickly turned organically into my role to hunt down these leads.
Yeah, but what happened from your own side, so to say, strategic side? Did you sit down and look at where are we going as an organization? What is the most important elements that we need to deal with, and how do I, find possible calls and possible projects where it can be matched up against what we need to do here? Did you do that already then, or
no? It grew organically. You fumble a bit in the dark. You get the first sort of taste for this on a process. Then another process comes in. Eventually, you gain a critical mass in your head of experiences that sort to form patterns, and then you start to sort those patterns. Say, okay, what are we actually doing here? I can't tell you exactly what month, how long it took, but at some point, it sort of crystallized. I said, okay, this is, there's a system to this, and this is how this universe works, and this is how you navigate it. It just, it's experience-based.
Yeah. So did you do this in close collaboration with management, with the director and the...
Yeah, I have to say that, in our group, we have weekly meetings. So all of this was very open. I'm discussing among my peers, but there was, again, credit to organization. There was never once where the organization said, why are you wasting your time with that? Or why are we doing this? It was simply a matter of, hey, this is what's going on. This is a good idea because this and this and this. And there was sign off all across the table. And maybe that could be rare to find. I don't know. I only know this organization, but that really helps.
I think this is exactly this. But at least it's more common that you get the opposite position. So, no, and you didn't even win the money. Why do we do this? That it's a waste of time. We need to focus on core business here. So this, of course, from my point of view, looking at it from outside, it's obvious that the support from them, from managers of the organization, to give you that free space, it also made it possible for you to explore the area. So you have the first one, and then you start being thrown at you from whatever requests come in. They know, we need to throw this at David. So you start to get these things in, and it starts to, when does it become too much.
At some point, oh man, I remember the final Horizon 2020 call that had its deadline in January, and this was
The Green
the
Deal.
Green Deal call.
I will never forget.
That was hell, but that was fun because I ended up my dashboard.
It wasn't.
When that deadline came and went, I looked at my dashboard and there were 20 proposals sent in that I had made sure. I was alone that December and January. I had some interns supporting me, to be fair, with some of the work, but they left in the beginning of December. And I was participating in all sorts of online meetings all the time and answering emails all the time, bringing it out there. That's when maybe that was crazy. And that, by the way, none of them got funded because this is a Green Deal call. That was absolutely crazy. Some of them had hit rates of 2.4% or something. It was silly. Yeah, it brings back Vietnam era kind of flashbacks, right?
Going through the figuratively speaking, the trenches of of proposal warfare.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what a horrible process.
But that's when I started also thinking maybe strategically, I need some help. And sometimes, when I bring interns, but I'm not a manager. I don't have hiring, firing capabilities or that leeway. But I do have, because of my university connections, I could easily bring students to work with BOFA. And not just any student, but students well along their way to almost getting their master's degree, which is to say, in many cases, mature students and very capable students. And what I found is the way that I've been given freedom, if you give freedom and under responsibilities and under lots of supervision, of course, to students and former students who you can maybe hire on a part-time position, then I actually at some point we were part of a four-man team splitting proposals among ourselves. I gave 10 to a newly graduated colleague. I had 10 for myself, and each of us had a student working under us to man these proposals. So in that sense, I had to reevaluate, organize, and get back into the game in more orderly fashion. And that actually was pretty cool. That ended up giving us a project, if I remember correctly. I should also say that another resource that really helps is God bless their souls, Greater Copenhagen EU Office's support money scheme.
Yeah, that helped me.
Yeah, it helped you. I was able to pay for buy-in to P&O innovation consulting. As you know how the game works. Your consulting company says we have a consortium for you, but it costs to enter, and this is how it works. I said, okay, well, let me just apply for the money. Then we're in the consortium, right? That's just the name of the game. Or I can also, I think I used both modalities with one of the processes with you, Niels. I bought in with your consulting company, but I also used some of the money I received to hire local consultants in Bornholm to do some proposal writing.
Yeah.
And so I started something there. So I in a way, I can't hire and fire staff, but I can hire consultants with resources that I bring to the table myself. I can easily do that. And I make strategic use of those funds. And it's very useful and very needed, I would say, in order to get these proposals funded in the end.
Yeah, it's so. This is also, of course, these episodes. In general, I try to make it as an inspiration and for people in the same position. So here you have some. So you have some core elements of. You have an organization with management that support the approach with using funds to support the strategy of the organization. That's one thing. Then you have an element of having interns, students that are working at this, who are studying these things, so they can contribute significantly to the content work that needs to be done. Right? And then you have the framework conditions from public framework conditions, so to say. But you pay a fee. That's how it works with the Copenhagen. Yeah, so you pay them a fee.
We don't personally. The municipality pays for it, and I don't know what cost sharing scheme is in the municipality. I think BOFA pays a percentage of the membership fee to the Greater Copenhagen EU office. I don't know exactly how much, but it's not BOFA itself.
Anyway, but the principle is that the municipality pays a fee to that office. They have an office in Brussels, and they then give you. You need to apply for for it, as far as I remember.
Yeah, you do.
But it's you get the money, and you have a certain upper limit how much you can get, but it's enough for you, more or less, as far as I remember when we talked about, to cover when you would need to say, look, it's outsourcing some of the writing. So those are three elements that, even though it's just because is it still just you, so to say? Is it you're the only one still sitting with this? Okay.
Sometimes, if I'm unable to make a consortium meeting, this was the case earlier this year because of I had to be home. My wife was about to give birth. I couldn't be too far away from that. So my manager took a bullet for me and went down to a consortium meeting in Venice together with the consultant. So sometimes I can ask for help.
Oh, he had to go to Venice.
Yeah,
poor guy.
Oh no!
Oh, I'm gonna take this for you. It's okay. Don't you worry. You have to stay home. It's so important you stay home.
He took it. Let's put it that way.
It's not even a sacrifice.
What a sacrifice! But yeah, I'm the product developer because I've become the most experienced in the organization. I really know the game, and I would like at some point, if somebody showed interest in the organization who wanted to do this together with me, that'd be really nice. So far, it's been a bit intimidating because not too many people have English as a native speaker at a native speaker level that I do.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising because I come from academia. You're quite used to using academic English. At the top of that, I happen to have an international background coming to an organization like this. And then you realize, oh, this is actually a unique skill set. And you need this. You need this, the people-to-people understanding, the intercultural understanding, and the language capabilities, written and oral, to be able to do this. And well, that's not always easy to find. But if somebody came to the table within the organization with some of these capabilities, then it would be then there could even be a multiplier effect with what we can do. But right now, yeah, I'm mainly heading up these things. I should say that the municipality itself has an EU coordinator, and he's really good. The focus has, however, been mostly on the Interreg programs. He sits in the monitoring committee for Interreg South Baltic, so he's very focused on that area of
and the
Horizon. It's a black box for many municipal entities.
Yeah, this is an EU funding podcast, and it's also I am also going to dig into Interreg at a certain time. Started with the Horizon part, so but just for people less knowledgeable of that, or who doesn't know, so the Interreg is it's softer collaboration projects where you have to be partners from two different regions in your two different countries. That's what's called Interreg, and it's more. A lot of municipalities and regional authorities, they enter into these because they are made to. It's very much designed, the funding scheme, to support public collaboration on exchanging practices. But what is there anything on the technical side?
Well, yeah, it's funny when you read into the Interreg programming documents. They don't use the same terminology as you'd be accustomed to from the Horizon world. They don't use technology readiness levels. They don't use that kind of terminology because it's not a research and innovation program. It is a cross-border regional collaboration program. However, that doesn't make it impossible to include technical elements in a project proposal. The project that I helmed, that I took over when I first entered into BOFA, had to do with citizen engagement methodologies that we also apply now in Horizon projects. In that project, there was also a lot of work packages, a lot of tasks that dealt with technical tests of different kinds of waste fractions. that we didn't carry them out, but our partner, which was a technical research entity in Poland, they were carrying it out. So there is technical elements to an Interreg project. It can be done. So in many ways, potato, whether it's Interreg or Horizon, you find ways as a public authority to see through it and see, well, it's kind of the same thing. It's just different funding rates and different secretariats that in the EU system that administrate these things.
The weight is the weight is different on the leg, so to say.
Yeah, of course, Horizon is the crown jewel because of the very attractive funding you have there with a 25% overhead, 100% funding rate for non-profit entities. That's very attractive.
Yeah, Interreg is a little bit rougher.
Yeah, Interreg UX is only 60, but Interreg South Baltic is 80. That's not bad.
No.
We just got an Interreg North Sea project. I launched that in Netherlands last week, and the funding rate is 60%. Thank you.
Congratulations. It's always good when they come home and when they start. All the fun. David, let's move a little bit on here. So now I've dotted down, but we already touched it actually, that you don't write or coordinate proposals. But tell me, do you coordinate?
We will be. We're going to coordinate, and well, we're not doing Horizon yet. We're coordinating an Interreg South Baltic call now. It's going to be dealing with circular economy as it relates to supermarket chains or the retail chain. And we've been able to get some major supermarket chains to join. And we're building up the project around circular solutions in supermarkets in different countries, in Denmark and Poland. Can't say more because it's something we're working on, obviously, but we've decided that we'll take the lead.
I also jumped the point, but I think we covered it. So organizationally, it's you are dealing with all of these things, and then you draw on the organization when you need input, I guess, from the different corners. Organizationally, so for the process itself, you are the core person, and then you drag people in. Are you still taking in students and so on to help you? How do you work with that?
All the time. In fact, if you go on there's a public portal out there called Graduate Land, which connects to all the university job portals. And there's 3 master thesis propositions with BOFA as the hosting organization for that I wrote. Okay. And right now I'm in talks with students from Southern Denmark University, Lund University in Sweden, Copenhagen Business School, and Aalborg University.
Okay.
So we have regional reach when it comes to universities and students doing work with us.
And then, so for that, I guess you do lose a little bit of continuity because they, of course, will have to finish their studies and go and get a work somewhere. But at least you get some help as long as they're there.
Well, yeah. Well, I've had a student from Roskilde University as an intern for the past half year. And she's been doing work on a certain initiative we've been doing. And now she wants to do a master thesis on a slightly different topic, but based on a project that we have. So now I can hire her on as part of that project. So that's a 1-year affiliation with BOFA that actually is helpful. Right?
Good. Okay.
So, it's human resource training and retention and working with what you got, and trying to involve them and get the most optimal out of it. And then they have a really good CV, have really good experience base to look for jobs on the basis of when they're done. So it's really something for something.
I think this is an important point for people out there that sits in sort of the same situation as you, or a likely situation like this. That this is like, if you start to work creatively with how you can optimize the resources that you need for preparing these things. This is a great tip to the students.
Frugal innovation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Innovation under constraints.
Yeah, organizational innovation. Yeah. Good to the topic that I attacked, and then I turned. So you don't write proposals yourself, yeah. You give input. You don't sit and coordinate the writing process of anything. You don't have the resources for that, right?
No, I mean, insofar as we...
And here I will be fading out of the first part of this double episode on waste handling organizations and Horizon Europe funding. Second part of this double episode will be released next Monday, and here we will dig into how BOFA identifies proposals to join, how David is running his networking, and finally how they run the implementation of the projects that they win. You can look forward to that. See you then.